In this video, we are going to see about sampling techniques which can be used in the research projects. Before going into in-depth details about various types of sampling techniques, firstly I will give a brief introduction about what sampling is. Say for example, I am doing a research project in Mumbai trying to prove the association between smoking and lung cancer. It is almost impossible for me to include all the smokers of Mumbai under my study. So, sampling is a scientific and systematic way in which I will pick few individuals, few smokers of the whole smoking population of Mumbai, and say for example at the end of my study it comes like smokers have 25 times more risk of developing lung cancer than the non-smokers. This result can be applied to all smokers of Mumbai, which means this sample population will act as a representative of the whole population. That is, any smoker in Mumbai has 25 times more risk of developing lung cancer. There are two types of sampling techniques. One is probability sampling, the other is non-probability sampling. In probability sampling, every individual of the whole population has equal and known chance of getting selected into the study, which makes sure that they truly represent the whole population. Whereas in non-probability sampling, every individual does not have equal and known chance of getting selected into the study. So, it is obvious that probability sampling is more scientifically correct than the non-probability sampling. But some drawbacks of probability sampling are it requires more time and more money and a proper sampling frame. In case of absence of proper sampling frame, non-probability methods can be considered. Whereas non-probability sampling can be done thoda easily than the probability sampling. The probability sampling is used to test the hypothesis, whereas non-probability sampling is used to generate hypothesis. Various types of probability sampling are simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified random sampling, multi-stage sampling, multi-phase sampling, cluster sampling. Now we will see what these means individually with the example. Simple random sampling. It is a type of probability sampling. As name suggests, it is a very simple method. It is most suitable when the population is small, homogeneous, and the complete list of population is available. Say for example, we have 100 individuals, out of them we want to select 10 via simple random sampling method. There are two methods which can be used. One is lottery method, the other one is table of random numbers method. In a lottery method, what we will do is, we will note down all these 100 individuals and give a number to them from 1 to 100. Then we will take chits, 100 small chits, and write the numbers from 1 to 100, fold those chits and put it in a drum. Then we will mix all those chits and take 10 numbers randomly from those chits, and those 10 people are selected for our study. As it is a type of probability sampling, you can see that every individual in the study has equal and known chance of getting selected. Then in table of random numbers, what we will do is, there is a table of random numbers available. Among that, we will completely blindfold ourselves and put our finger randomly on any number on the table. We will start with that number and either we will go horizontally or vertically to choose the random numbers that are consecutively being there in the table, and then those till we reach our desired sample size, which is 10 in this example. So these are two methods in which we can do simple random sampling. Systematic sampling. Like simple random sampling, this method can also be used only when the complete comprehensive list of the whole population is available. But simple random sampling was done on small homogeneous population. This systematic sampling can be done on large dispersed population and non-homogeneous population. I will give an example of this systematic sampling and explain how it is done. See, let's take the same example of 100 individuals in the population are available and 10 among them need to be selected. Firstly, what we will do is we will divide the whole population number by the desired sample size which we want, which is 100 by 10, which is equal to 10 in this case. What we will do is we will randomly select a number from 1 to 10. Let's take 3 for an example. And what we will do is we will add the number which we got by dividing the whole population by the sample size, desired sample size which we want, which is 10 in this case, which is 100 by 10. Okay, then the random number we selected from 1 to 10 is 3. What we will do now is we will add 10 to this 3. So we will select the third participant, then plus 10, 13th participant, then plus 10, 23rd participant, 33rd, 43rd participant, 53rd participant. Like that we will choose 10 participants among all these 100 population size which is available to us. Stratified random sampling. This method can be used when the population is heterogeneous. Firstly, what we will do is we will divide the population into different strata, that is different subgroups which can be based on age, gender or socioeconomic status or anything. For example, let's say we are going to study about prevalence of some cancer. Obviously cancer will be more common in old age. So if we are going to use the simple random technique or systematic random sampling method which we have studied earlier, there is a possibility where we can get more children and more middle-aged group and very less elderly group, which may represent a biased value of prevalence of cancer. So what we will do now is we will divide the whole population into children, middle-aged and elderly. Then we will make these are the strata that we have created. Among these strata, among this individual strata, we will use any random sampling method, that is any probability sampling method, and we choose individuals within this strata. There are two types of stratified random sampling. One is proportionate method of choosing and another one is disproportionate method of choosing. Disproportionate method of choosing means we will take 33% of children, 33% of middle-aged and 33% of elderly. What proportionate method means is we will see the proportion of these strata in the whole population. For example, consider there are 15% of elderly in the study population and 35% of children and 50% of middle-aged group, and the sample size which is required for our study is going to be 100. We will take 15 individuals from elderly population 35 individuals from children and 50 individuals from middle age group population. This is an example of proportionate type of sampling. There is disproportionate way in which we will choose 33 from each strata. Obviously proportionate is much better. Multi-stage sampling. This is most suitable for large populations like a country or a state. For example, in a state, out of all the districts available in this sampling method, as name suggests, there are multiple stages in which we will choose. For example, in a state, out of all the districts available, we may choose 10 random districts, and then among these districts we may choose 10 talukas from each districts, and among the talukas 10 villages from each taluka, and among the villages every 10th family can be chosen. This is most efficient and least time consuming method for a large population, which is done in multiple stages as the name suggests. In multi-phase sampling method, some data is collected from the entire sample and additional more specific information is collected from the subgroup within the sample. For example, for cancer screening in women, in phase 1 all women can be surveyed for the risk factors like age, family history, lifestyle, and then in phase 2 high risk women are invited for clinical breast examination or pap smear or mammography or ultrasound depending on the age. And in phase 3, for those who came positive for this screening tests, these women can be suggested for biopsy. This multi-phase sampling is more useful when some investigation or some screening method is costlier, which can't be done for the entire population. Cluster sampling. In this method, the population is divided into cluster of units based on geographical proximity. Instead of selecting individuals, these clusters are selected, and there are two types of cluster sampling. One is one-stage sampling, in which all the individuals belonging to the selected clusters are chosen for the sampling, and two-stage sampling, after choosing the clusters randomly, choosing certain number of individuals within the cluster randomly is being done. This method is most commonly used for evaluation of immunization coverage. For example, WHO uses 30x7 cluster sampling method for evaluating immunization coverage. I will explain this method, which is for example, in a city or in a district, 30 villages are selected randomly. These villages are considered as clusters, and among these villages, in each village 7 children under 5 are being chosen. Overall 210 children are being chosen for this 30x7 cluster sampling technique, which is used by WHO. This is an example of two-stage sampling, because not all the children or all the individuals in the cluster villages are chosen for the study. Only selected individuals, which is 7 children, are chosen among the 30 chosen clusters. So this is an example of two-stage cluster sampling method. Various types of non-probability sampling methods are consecutive sampling, convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling. Consecutive sampling, which is also known as sequential sampling. In this method, all individuals who meet the predefined selection criteria are considered into our study. This is most efficient non-probability sampling method because there is no selection bias in this. For example, all the OPD based studies or hospital based studies come under consecutive or sequential sampling mostly. I will give an example of hospital based study on anemia among pregnant women. The pregnant women who are attending antenatal clinics are being considered into the study and the hemoglobin levels are being examined among them. This will be continued until the desired sample size is achieved. For example, in this anemia study, let's say the desired sample size is 300. These pregnant women who are attending the antenatal clinics will be included under study until the sample size, which is 300, is achieved. Convenience sampling, which is also known as accidental sampling or opportunity sampling. In this type of non-probability sampling, the participants are chosen based on who are easiest to access. For example, if a resident does a research on sleep quality and sleep quantity among postgraduate medical students. Say for example, he himself belongs to the surgery department. He is a PG in surgery department. He will choose his co-PGs and seniors or juniors because they are easily accessible by him, and he may choose anesthesia, some other department which are easily accessible by him, but the result is going to be severely biased because all other departments are not chosen. Purposive or judgmental sampling. In this method, researcher intentionally selects the participants for the study based on his own judgment. This study can be done when there are only small number of people who has the expertise on the area which is being researched. There can be significant chances of bias in this type of sampling when the researcher's assumptions are incorrect. In spite of these limitations, this purposive sampling is often valued in exploratory research, in particular for qualitative studies. Quota sampling. It is a type of non-probability sampling where it closely resembles to the stratified random sampling because firstly the population is divided into distinct mutually exclusive subgroups, but unlike stratified random sampling, some non-probability method is used for choosing after the subgroup is made. The only difference between stratified random sampling and quota sampling is that the first step, which is stratification, is same among both. The selection after the stratification is probability method in stratified random sampling and non-probability method in quota sampling. For example, nutrition awareness among pregnant women for measuring that a quota set of 50% primigravida and 50% multigravida is made, and the researcher will include the pregnant woman attending the antenatal clinic to the subset of either primigravida or multigravida based on the parity. Snowball sampling is a type of non-probability sampling technique where existing study subject will recruit the further subjects. By this way, the sample size will grow like a rolling snowball till the desired sample size is achieved. This is mostly done on hidden population, which are drug users or sex workers. For example, in a college, a drug user who meets our selection criteria can be chosen, and with his help, other people who meet our selection criteria can be selected, and the next stage, with the help of those people who are added, the other peoples can be selected. By this way, the desired sample size can be achieved even in the hidden population with this type of sampling method. Thank you.